Okay, great. So I will call this meeting to order. It is the November 17th, 2020 Select Board meeting. Before we get started, I do want to read our public participation policy. The Hatfield Select Board welcomes everyone to its meetings and all other public meetings of the town of Hatfield. All regular and special meetings of the boards and committees of the town of Hatfield shall be open to the public and shall conform to the open meeting law. Executive sessions are closed to the public and will be held only as prescribed by the statutes of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It is important to recognize that the open meeting law affords the opportunity to listen to the proceedings, but not necessarily participate. During meetings of the Select Board, an attempt will be made to find a balance between hearing from members of the community and conducting the required business of the Hatfield Select Board. So we do have, we have some announcements. I am happy to report that the town, it will be getting the 100% match of our CPA funds from the state trust fund. Marlene, do you have an actual dollar amount?
I do.
Okay.
And that is, where is Hatfield here? It's 169,578 is our match for this year.
That's great.
That's 100%. That's excellent.
It's really great. Very, very good. And then the only other, well, I mean, I have some things I want to say, but maybe I'll hold off till the COVID update. But you know, we still have some information we need to get to townspeople about Luminarium. But my hope is that we could actually schedule Bobby Betzold and maybe one or two other folks from the 350th committee to attend our next meeting and have a spot on the agenda.
LaValle.
Where we can really give them some time to explain how it will work with the fireworks and everything to townspeople. So if we could do that, that would be great. I think it would be best to do it that way. I guess that's all I have right now, but I don't know if maybe Ed has something.
I just want to say thank you to all those that participated at Veterans Day on November 11th in Town Hall. So thank you to everyone that came and thank you to everyone that participated.
Absolutely. Always very nice ceremony. Brian, did you have anything?
No, I did not. Thank you.
Okay. So we have, how about public forum? Is anyone here looking for a minute of public forum?
Yes. Hi, Cahill. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just as far as public forum is concerned, Diana, I just would like to ask at some point, would it be possible for us to take up the questions that I had submitted regarding Article 2 of the special town meeting? And whether that's something we want to do now or whether we want to wait until topic 7 actually comes up on the agenda.
I mean, most of your questions have been answered, no?
Not really, no. There are a lot of them that Phil did not answer. So.
I guess we can give you a few minutes during topic 7, but I don't want this to get derailed into this huge discussion about your particular questions that you have. So, but I'm willing to hear those, but I do think we should do it. It makes sense to talk about it during that time.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome, Michael. Anyone else? Okay, so we have some minutes to approve. We have November 4th, 2020, October 27th, 2020, October 20th, 2020, May 19th of 2020. So those have all been presented. If either of you want to have any discussion or want to make a motion.
Sure, I'll make a motion that we approve The minutes that Madam Chair just mentioned, November 4th, October 27th, October 20th, and May 19th.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion?
No minutes.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we'll go right into our posted business, and topic one, as usual lately, is a COVID update from our COVID coordinator, Carrie Flaherty, excuse me. I do it all the time. Carrie, did you want to just, we'll turn the floor over to you and let you say what you need to say, and then I'm certain we'll have some discussion about that.
Diana, are you willing, so in case Ed has to leave, are you willing to take up his appointment first, and then I can give you?
Oh, yeah, you know what?
Rundown?
Yes, you mean the
Yeah,
police
can we just spin
appointment?
those two, if you don't mind?
Yes.
Then if he has to leave, you guys have already taken care of that.
Yes, okay, that's a great idea. So we're joined tonight by Officer Kennedy from the police department. You come to so many of our meetings. We like seeing you here. So we have somebody you would like us to appoint, a new officer, a new part-time officer.
Yes, please. His name is Brandon Iavecchia, and he should be on this call tonight.
He
comes
is.
to us with a wealth of experience between Whately and Plainfield, as well as a public safety emergency dispatcher for the town of Enfield, Connecticut.
Are you here, Brandon?
He texted me. He should be there.
He's here. I can see him circled and
He
he's
is.
raising his hand.
Oh, he's raising his hand. Okay, great.
Oh, that's so polite of him.
So first of all, I would like to welcome you and thank you for your interest in being an officer here in Hatfield. You do certainly come with some great experience. My nephew is an officer in Enfield, so you might actually know him. We'll talk about that at some point, but so I think that's great. I mean, it might be nice if you just maybe joined us and just so we could see what you look like and have a minute to just chat briefly. I don't really have any questions, but.
Diana, I'm not sure if he does have a camera. I think he does have the ability to speak.
Okay.
Maybe. Possibly not. Well, it's looking more like that might be the option now.
Maybe he just can wave. So. Oh, this is the problem with these meetings. Because it would be, it's always so nice to do this because then the community has a chance to sort of meet our new officers. So
his apologies, and he says he was unable to unmute it and does not know why.
So maybe what we'll do is just take a rain check and see if we can maybe do an introduction when we resume in-person meetings. Because
I sit down for the next Skype meeting, one or the other.
Either way, whatever works. But so you're looking for a motion to appoint?
Please.
I'll make a motion to appoint Brandon Iavecchia to the Hatfield Police Department.
I'll second that motion, and I want to say welcome, Brandon, to Hatfield.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you.
So there's a motion made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Brandon, thank you. Welcome. And I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
Likewise.
Thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks.
Thanks, Ed.
Officer Iavecchia.
Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
Thank you, Officer Kennedy.
Thank you.
Is now exiting.
So we will go back to Carrie Flaherty. We'll backtrack.
Can you back up a little bit so I can take my mask off? So I'll just start with my letter that went out yesterday, and we had a robocall that went out. So since last Monday, we have had what is now confirmed to be 16 in-town COVID cases, which is the most we've had in that short period of time since January when this all started, or March when this all started. all contact tracing has been completed. So all 16 of those people are currently in quarantine, and the 11 other people are, in addition to that, are also in quarantine that have had exposure to those people. There are multiple people that have had contact with the positive cases that live outside of town, and all those towns have been notified and informed. So, and I've actually been receiving emails the last couple of days, going back and forth amongst towns, just making sure we have all the contact tracing completed currently. So in doing that last week, being one person and 9 cases coming up in less than a 48-hour period, I had to make the hard decision and suggestion to the school district that they needed to go fully remote because it was a safety concern for everybody in the town at that point. I could
because of the contact tracing, right?
Correct. So at the time when I made that decision, I could not get the contact tracing done in a reasonable amount of time. You're supposed to get in contact with everybody within 24 hours is the hope. And that's like the guidelines that are set to do it. And it just wasn't going to happen. There were so many people and so many different people. It wasn't like it was one family where I could talk to one person and get all my answers. So, it seemed to have worked smoothly, smoother than I was expecting it to be, but we were able to get everybody notified on Wednesday afternoon as early as possible so families could plan. And we went remote for Thursday and Friday. And that was the plan, was that it was only going to be Thursday and Friday. And we had hoped to go back to hybrid yesterday. Well, that didn't happen because from Wednesday to Saturday, I ended up going from 9 to 16 cases. So the cases went up. We did end up with one positive student in the district, which affected one grade. And then we had another child in the district who was in contact with a positive case. So that affected another grade, and one in each building. So at that point, in talking with the superintendent and the chair of the school committee, it was decided, or my suggestion prior to their emergency meeting on Saturday was to go fully remote for this week and Thanksgiving week, which is next week. And then the plan is that as long as numbers stay down in the town and everybody comes off of quarantine and we don't have a lot of new numbers, that the children will go back to hybrid again starting Monday the 30th.
Carrie, let me interrupt you if I. Carrie,
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just so the townspeople who are on this call, and for the townspeople that are going to watch this after tonight, we have 16 new cases in a 1-week period, and up until then we had a total of 23 or 24 cases in an 8-month period.
Right.
Correct.
I want everyone to understand that this thing is real, and to have 16 cases, and we know stuff happens and we're hearing about surges. So this is a serious matter. And I just want to make sure that the Hatfield residents are taking it seriously and following the guidelines, staying as safe as possible. Stuff happens, we know that, but we all have to be proactive and try to avoid putting ourselves in a situation where we don't have masks or can't social distance or can't wash our hands, because it only takes 1 or 2 people that unknowingly have the virus, and then we can see what happens, because it happened over the last week. So I'm pontificating a bit, and I apologize. But again, I'm thinking 24 cases over 8 months, 16 cases over 1 week. That's a big turnaround. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
And I'd like to just follow up on that. I agree with everything Brian said. We have to take this very, very seriously. At the same time, I don't want people to be really scared. And I did see some of this on social media with people being frightened. And I think a healthy amount of fear for this virus is what we all want to shoot for. And there was a lot of chatter about wanting to know who it was, wanting to know locations of cases. And I just really want to stress that obviously that information is not public, and it's never going to be made public. There's HIPAA regulations. It shouldn't be out there. We won't put that out there. And the best thing for people to remember is just what Brian said. If you follow the recommended guidelines and you socially distance and you wear your mask and you wash your hands, then that's the best thing you can do to protect yourself from this. So that was just something I wanted to say about these numbers. I also want to say a big thank you to Carrie, because, you know, she really has done a great job up until now. And then when this started happening, you know, really great about communicating with me what was happening in terms of numbers, at the same time that she was just doing this enormous amount of work involved with the contact tracing. And that's the other important thing to remember, that Carrie is taking care of the contact tracing. So if you were in contact with anyone that you need to be concerned about, you would have been notified. So that's also something I just want to put out there, just to sort of quell some of what I think are some fears out there about this. So Carrie, thank you.
You're welcome. So as for the school, so in regards to the school, they're clearly closed for the next 2 weeks. They will be serving the lunches. They've been doing lunches through UMass Dining, I think is the right term for their group. But anyways, they've been doing that since the beginning of the year. They have an arrangement there. And the lunches are free to all students. You don't qualify for that in any way. So last week we did have to make the decision not to have not to do lunches on Thursday and Friday at that point, but this week they are serving lunch. You can stop and pick it up from 12 to 12:45 at Smith Academy, just in case people are watching and see this, that it just gets out there that they are serving lunches this week and next like they would normally do, as a pickup, you know, each day. And
can I just inject something there about the lunches too? Because those lunches are really fantastic and families are really loving them. They're really healthy. There's a huge variety of things. They make some provisions for, you know, some food allergies and sensitivities and vegetarians and things like that. So it's a great program, and I'm glad we're able to find a way to keep that going for the remainder of the year.
Absolutely. So in regards to the school, we did what needed to happen. It pivoted well, I think. The school, they and myself had a good plan and process, and it worked well. It wasn't like I made my suggestions, they said yes, and they agreed, and it just moved easily, and there was really no problems.
Carrie, can I interrupt? I just realized we had a hearing posted for 5:45.
No, go ahead.
So
you can do that. I can wait.
we do that and then revisit?
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
this is a little choppy. We keep putting you aside, and you're probably the most important person on the agenda tonight, but we'll get back to you.
That's fine.
But I think it's important to do this as close to the hearing time as possible. So we are scheduled to have our tax classification hearing tonight, and we're joined by the Board of Assessors. I know I see Jenny.
Hi.
Hi, Jenny. Okay, Scott is here. And then there's some phone numbers. Scott, are we joined by any other board members?
Stan is here. I don't know if you can see me.
I can't see you, Stan, but I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, what about Jimmy?
He's on as well.
Yeah, he's on. I heard him sign in.
Okay. Okay, so we'll turn it over to the Board of Assessors for the tax classification hearing.
Okay, so I gave Key a copy the other day of the motions. So I'm just gonna read the paperwork here, and then you just have to take a motion on each one of them.
Okay.
So the tax classification hearing, November 17th, according to Mass General Laws, each year the Board of Selectmen must vote whether to have a single tax rate or multiple tax rates for the different classes of property. Last year, the Board of Selectmen adopted a single rate for all classes of property. After a public hearing, the Board of Selectmen must determine the following. 1, the allocation of the tax levy factoring against the property classes for FY 2021. 2, a tax burden shift from the open space class to the residential class. 3, the granting of a residential exemption of up to 10% of the average value of all owner-occupied properties. And 4, the granting of a commercial exemption of up to 10% to certain small commercial properties. So you just have to take a motion, and then I'll leave the LA5 to be signed by the select board tomorrow.
Okay, so did you want to elaborate on any of these, Scott or Stan?
Oh, no, typically what we do is we present them to the Board of Select Persons. I don't know if you want to vote on them individually or as a batch, but typically it just comes out as a single tax rate at the end.
Right, okay. Right, it's pretty standard boilerplate stuff. Okay. So Brian, Ed, did either of you?
And to your point, Diane, there's really not much to say other than they are what they are. And we just need this done so that we can apply it to the state.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
You're going to be doing it in November, right, Stan?
Yeah. We are so far ahead of the curve, Brian. It is wonderful.
I'm with you, brother.
That's what I want to say. It's wonderful.
That's great.
We appreciate everybody's efforts. We know that all the departments have, all of us included, have struggled a bit the last few years, given some of the background information and circumstances. So
Right.
here we are where we should be. You know.
That's right, Brian. To build on that, it was truly not only the assessors, but it was a team effort from every one of the departments, and Marlene and the treasurer and everybody that puts in all the efforts. Sharon does a great job supporting us and getting this through. So hopefully we'll have a tax rate in a very, very short period of time this year.
Great, thank you.
So great. Ed, was there anything you wanted to pipe in or ask, or are you all set?
I think it's great. We finally got there, and it's a great thing that it's finally happened. Taken a lot of time and a lot of people to get there, and I just appreciate that everybody hung in there and kept at it. That's all.
Great. Yeah, and we thank the board and Jenny for this. So I will entertain a motion. Do you want to do them singly or just as? Do we have to do them singly, Key or Marlene?
Marlene,
Muted.
Sorry, I would recommend that you vote them individually.
Okay. So I'll start accepting motions.
We can take a hint, right, Ed? So I don't have anything that's a motion per se. Is it the 1, 2, 3, 4?
yes, that's correct, Brian.
What Jenny just read?
If you would like, Jenny could read item 1, read it, and then you guys could make a motion.
That's great.
Yeah, that's fine.
Jenny, if you'd be willing to do that, that would be great.
Okay, so the first one is the allocation of the tax levy against the property classes for FY21.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made in second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A tax burden shift from the open space class to the residential class.
So moved.
Second.
A motion's made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The granting of a residential exemption of up to 10% of the average value of all owner-occupied properties.
So moved.
Second.
A motion's made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
The granting of a commercial exemption of up to 10% to certain small commercial properties.
So moved.
Second.
A motion's made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Thanks to the Board of Assessors and to Jenny for walking us through that just now. We appreciate it.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much,
guys.
and thank you very much for being prompt on our time, because we have a meeting right after.
Yeah, we were a little bit late. Now, Jenny, did I hear you say you're going to prepare something for our signatures?
Yeah, so I had planned on seeing you guys tonight with everything changing. I have the paperwork here. I'll give
Okay.
it to Sharon because she said she has documents for you to sign as well. So I
Okay.
just need each of your signatures on the paperwork.
Okay, I'll get in there. I'll get in there in the next couple days.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you,
let's-
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. So let's jump right back to Carrie because she's been patient with us and these delays.
James,
LaValley.
No
Is
worries.
now exiting.
So schools, basically, we're done with the school conversation. Like, everything's good. The kids are remote, staff is remote, nobody's in the building. Well, I shouldn't say that. I did allow that if teachers wanted to come in, I'm not sure if they are or not, that if they wanted to come into their own individual classroom by themselves to be able to live teach from their classroom because all their stuff is there, they are able to do that. But other than that, the building is closed to the public and they're not supposed to be amongst themselves. And I know that they're following those guidelines. So then in that regards, because of the school, I in turn talked, Diana, with you and also with Brian individually in regards to the town buildings. And I felt that it was necessary, since we were keeping the safety of the schools, we should be keeping the safety of everybody in all town buildings and the public. And so we made the decision to close down town offices. And that does include the library, just so people are aware of that. The library's been open one day a week for a couple hours and it's been going very well. But now we have closed for this week and also for next week that the town offices are also closed to the public. I stressed in my letter, we stressed it in our robocall, and I'll stress it here tonight in case people watch this meeting, is that we really push you to either use the Dropbox if you have bills to pay, use the phone and call the offices to speak to individuals, if you need to and have questions, or via email is the best option, obviously, for that too. Or if you have bills to pay or anything like that, use the website online too. I used mine to do my water bill a couple weeks ago, and it's not a bad process. So those are the avenues that people can take since the town offices are now closed. They're not closed at not having staff, they're just closed to the public, should I say, sorry. So that was the next step. And I'm just gonna quickly remind people that the guidelines for the state of Massachusetts changed on November 6th. That now entails that everybody should be wearing a mask while in public, be it walking on the streets of Hatfield, walking the streets of Northampton, or anywhere else you are, inside stores, restaurants, etc. Masks should be worn at all times. They're even saying that if you're in a vehicle with people that are not a part of your household, that you should be wearing masks inside of a car. So I push and urge people that COVID is a thing. It is not a political move. It is not something that people should be concerned about. They should be concerned. It's a public health situation and it's a pandemic. And I think some people just are a little laxed in the guidelines, and I'm just hoping people are realizing that it can hit as close as Hatfield, obviously. 16 cases, it would have been 18. Originally it was 18 cases, but 2 people no longer live in Hatfield. And just so people understand that, I get notified of positive cases. That's part of contact tracing. I call the people, and as soon as they tell me that they no longer live in Hatfield, I get their correct address, and that then gets referred to that town. So it comes off of my contact tracing, so I don't get all the details, so that I can't, and in turn, the town that it goes to is supposed to get all those details, and if there's something that we need to be notified about, they do that. So I can't stress enough, I put it in my letter yesterday, and we did put it on our robocall, that the rumor mill needs to come to a nil. Like, the town is going to give out information as needed to the citizens, and we have all along through these last 10 months, and we will continue to do so. And I just ask people to not give out false information or discuss details that did not come directly from either myself as the COVID coordinator or from the Board of Health or the Board of Selectmen directly, or the town administrator for that matter. If it doesn't come from one of the groups of us, then please don't spread information that is not true, because all it does is cause unnecessary panic amongst people, and it's not fair to our citizens. And we don't need more stress than what people are already feeling at this time, because everybody feels different stress when it comes to COVID right now.
Our citizens or our businesses.
And our businesses, yes. I mean, it affects everybody across the board. And when we give out false information, it affects people and it affects their businesses. And that's what I hope doesn't happen, but we do know that it has happened in the last week. So that's where I kind of leave that. Just so people understand the new guidelines, you will see us trying to educate people more in public. If we see you out and about without your masks on, and you're not following the guidelines, our goal is to educate people, be it myself, the Board of Health members, the police department. The governor has given stance on issuing violations and issuing fines. I don't want it to come to that. I haven't done one in 10 months and I really don't plan on or want to do one in the near future, but people just really need to be following the guidelines. And this is everybody's warning. The state has given their warnings and the town is giving their official warnings of the guidance. And Hatfield's not following any different guidelines than what the state is giving out. That's what we go by. People who are having gatherings, we're coming into the holiday season. I cannot stress enough, people shouldn't be traveling. If you're having people coming in from out of state, you really should know that they've been tested ahead of time before they come to your home and that they're negative before they enter your house. Because if you don't know that situation already, then that means you're taking the risk that you're being exposed possibly to someone, even if it's a family member that you can trust and go by that you believe you know where they've been.
And it's not supposed to be more than 10 people, is that correct?
Right, yeah, I was getting there, yeah. So then, no, it's okay. So gatherings should not be more than 10 people at a residence. People should not be having parties outside and inside, etc. Events should not be, inside events should not be more. If you're talking about a place like the Legion or, I don't think we really have any other halls in town, but a place like the Legion shouldn't be having more than 25 people. And that's even if they have the capacity for 25 people or less. It's really also still by square footage, which is 8 people per 1,000 square feet. So in the case of the Legion, that makes it even less that they could have for gatherings. People are still expected to wear masks and have their nose and mouth covered at all times, because that is how COVID spreads. And as for large gatherings, Hatfield had fallen under the guidelines that we were a step 3 phase 2 community up until last week. I'm not 100% sure where we fall because I honestly have not had the time to look and see how many cases make us change to step backwards. So we currently, as of a week ago, were able to have an outdoor event of no more than 100 people. I mean, obviously it's cold out, so people are not doing outside events, but I just need to push that of realizing that outside events shouldn't be happening that way anymore, because I believe we've now gone backwards as a town because of how many cases we've had.
Carrie, will you be attending our next meeting when we discuss the best way for folks to enjoy Luminarium?
Yes.
Okay.
So I also have a meeting, I think later this week, if not the beginning of next week, with Mr. Labby and Bobby Betzold in regards to discussing sort of a new plan or whatever. So by the time your next meeting will happen, obviously you guys will have a good plan when it comes to Luminarium.
Yep. And we have a meeting
in order, and it's going to keep people safe.
Exactly. It's just a suggestion of maybe a different way for people to enjoy it. So just
to not be able to enjoy it for the evening and everybody's safe, but to not lose out on the fact of Luminarium is a great thing for the town. Everybody always enjoys it, etc.
And it's a special one this year.
Yeah, exactly. So with that said, I'm going to take one moment just to stress to people that I am one person. And as much as I enjoy doing this job, and I took it on back when I was on the Board of Health, and I stayed doing it when I was asked to do this by the Board of Selectmen of if I would stay in the position continuously and take it on as a full role. And I did it because I'm dedicated to this town, but I am one person, and I just need everybody to realize that this isn't an easy situation, and it's not an easy process, and it takes a lot of time. And I'm happy for people to reach out to me, etc. But just realize that when you have 16 cases, one person only goes so far. So it takes time to make sure that everybody's informed the correct way. And I feel I did that the best I possibly could, and everybody was informed when they needed to be, and it was in a very short period of time. But it really, in the end, after all the phone calls and everything, it took me 5 days to get all the information into the computer system that we need to for the state, because it's a lot of typing and it's a lot of people. So going to our numbers, we have 16 people currently that are COVID positive. Out of that, we have 11 people that are in quarantine in the town. And then in the school district, we had 1 positive case in the school district, like I said earlier, which then quarantined at least 14 people that had immediate contact with that person. And then at the high school, We had one person who was in contact with a family member who was positive. That party has now tested negative, which kind of is a good thing for people to not have such a high stress at this point because they realize that their child was not exposed in the end. But that again took staff and students that I think it was another 12 maybe people that had to be quarantined. So that just so people understand that even though we had 16 cases, we had almost like 30 something ish or maybe 40 people quarantined all together if you take people who have to quarantine for the 14 days and our positive cases and combine them.
I want to say, you know, thank you, Carrie, for doing all of that and getting that tracing done. And the school did a good job too, because my daughter was in the class of one of the students, and we got great information from the school in a very timely way. And then the assurances that everything was okay. So we thank the school administration too for the follow-up at their end. And
just one last thing. I know I've talked about this with the board in general, but if there is one person or two people that might be interested in helping out in regards to contact tracing, feel free to reach out to one of the Board of Selectmen members or myself and just put your name in, and we can, you know, there is some strict guidelines in regards to contact tracing and some approvals that have to be done. You really do have to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Health. So I'd be happy to take names so that in the future, if this happens again, I can have one extra person or two extra people if need be to be able to make some of these phone calls and do some of this stuff honestly for me, that it just helps, like all of us would be doing it joint. So I do throw that out there. If somebody's willing to come forward and offer up their time, that would be great. And I'm not saying that some haven't. Jean and Martha from the school have offered up their time, but however, they are super busy with the schools too, so it's hard to be able to teach them in those standards and then have them have to do their full-time regular daily job. So I haven't taken them on board at this point. Not saying I wouldn't consider them in the future, but I'm hope maybe somebody that has some time on their hands might be willing to step up and help out if we need them.
Question, does the Board of Health in any way help with contract tracing or anything like that?
Do they or have they? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Do they, or could they, or have they?
They could. They haven't. But that doesn't mean that this couldn't be turned over to some of them also as the elected officials or even the health agent. But I know our health agent also committed in other towns, so I'm not sure he has where the time lies with that.
I'm just trying to figure to help you do what you need to do without being overburdened, whether some of the burden could be helped by the Board of Health. I don't know if you've had that conversation with any of them or not, or, you know, I'm just asking, looking for answers to help you. That's all.
What has the Board of Health response been at this point? I mean, we know, Carrie, what you've been doing, but what has the board's role been? And do you need more from them?
I inform them regularly of what's going on. I had a good conversation on Saturday with the chair of the Board of Health in regards to the fact that this has become an overwhelming situation for me.
That's Bob.
I'm sorry, yeah, with Bob Olsley. And yeah, I stressed to him that it's something that has to be looked into. Again, I mean, people, if something was to happen to me tomorrow, there is nobody that is trained to do this. And it's a lot to be taken over. And so yes, Ed, to answer your question, I have brought it up to the Board of Health, and I felt 4 weeks ago that it hit deaf ears when I brought it to their meeting. I don't know where they stand now with it, and I'm not sure that right here is the place for me to be discussing it. I don't know, but yeah, I think they should be, it's a public health matter. It's really where it lies.
Right. Right.
Well, I think the important thing to remember is that Carrie, when this started, Carrie was on the Board of Health.
Yes, exactly.
Which is how her involvement even started with this back in February and March when we started. So I would agree. Carrie Carrie's doing a great job, but we can see how a spike in something can just take away all your free time, all your time, never mind free time, because of the contact tracing. So I would suggest that hopefully moving forward, all of us can have a conversation of, is there a person or two that can assist Carrie? If Carrie's willing to do it, I'd love it for her to stay on as sort of the point person, given her background with all of this. But it is a Board of Health issue, in my opinion. And while Carrie's been doing it, when there are spikes, then we may need some additional, she may need some additional help, the town may need some additional help from others. And if they're Board of Health members, great. If we've got to do something else, then we have to do something else. So.
And just if I can, I'm sorry, Marlene, you had wanted to say something, and then I'll make my comment. I don't want to interrupt you.
Well, I was going to mention that Liz Kugler has joined the meeting. And I know Liz came down here to Town Hall because she thought we were going to be here in the conference room. And I know she wanted to speak to how masks should be used or worn, or, when people set them down. So I wanted to make sure that the Board of Selectmen recognized her, and while we were on the topic of COVID, that she had an opportunity to explain that.
And sure, I mean, well, I'd like to give Liz a chance to do that. I just want to add to something Brian said, just to sort of put this all into perspective, that Brian's exactly right. Carrie was a member of the Board of Health when this situation began. And I will say Carrie dove in head first and started educating herself as much as we could at that point about the virus and about the response and about the protocols and about the requested guidelines. She was appointed when we realized that this position, that this response was requiring far more hours and time and everything far outside the scope of what she should be expected to do as a Board of Health member. The COVID coordinator position was created, which was allowed under the CARES Act and through the CARES Act funding.
Right.
And so that's how she became the COVID coordinator. We then had a change on the Board of Health, but it does seem that since then the Board of Health has not participated in the response to this public health crisis. So I just wanted to be, very, very clear about that and really lay that out for people listening or people who may listen at some point. So we have relied very heavily on Carrie. I don't think any of us expected that we would have a week like we had last week. Certainly probably not Carrie. And so we really appreciate that, but it is time to talk about, the appropriate response from the appropriate board.
And if I can just add two more things, because I'm sure you guys are seeing them, but I'm just responding to some of the questions in the chat section.
I thought we weren't going to use the chat section on these meetings.
Okay, sorry. But just to make a point of reference, this is not a Board of Selectmen matter. This from the beginning has been a Board of Health, public health situation. The only reason why the Board of Selectmen have been in charge of my position is because the CARES money fell to the Board of Selectmen and their guidelines and their roles. So in all honesty, in the next 5 weeks, when that CARES money is no longer available to the town, unless the federal government says otherwise and they extend it out to be the rest of the fiscal year, this position falls back to the Board of Health and their guidance, including the Board of Selectmen to be playing a part in that, because they have all along. I feel that that's necessary and it should stay that way, but the town needs to realize that this is a public health matter, and it has been from the beginning. And I've stressed it for a few weeks now, but I think that this has become more than what we all expected, obviously. And I know the three of you agree with that, or the four of you, should I say, agree with that matter. And it has to be looked at, because yes, COVID could be nothing come February, but it might not come something from February when vaccines come out. And it's winter. We're going to have lots more of this week, I think, than we expect. So,
and just one more thing, I want to piggyback on what I was saying. I know that there's been some confusion about if this should have been falling on the emergency management director. We do have an emergency management director. We have an emergency management plan. that plan is designed to guide us through emergencies like something on the railroad, bad storms, floods. It is not designed to help us navigate a public health emergency. So therefore, that plan and the person who oversees the execution of that plan is not the person who should be at the helm for this. Although I will say that's Chief Flaherty, and Chief Flaherty has taken on a significant role in overseeing the CARES Act funding and how all of that's filtering and really has been helpful and really crucial in our response to this. But in terms of the actual in the trenches doing the work, it is not the role of an emergency manager.
Right.
Just want to make sure that I put that out there.
So I've probably taken up a ton of your time, but all good points that have been made and discussed. And I don't think, I mean, it's been a couple days and I haven't had any new positive cases. So let's all keep our fingers and toes crossed that this is the end of it for us for a little while. And hopefully we can get everybody that's on quarantine off of quarantine before something happens again. And hopefully we can get the students back into the school building and get back to hybrid learning and not have to have everybody home remote too. That's a big goal of mine, and the school is aware of that too. And I know that's the goal of the school too, is to get us back to at least hybrid learning and move through the winter months the best we possibly can.
You know, I see that Jill is on the meeting, and I just want to acknowledge they have had such a hard job. I can't imagine what the school committee has gone through, and I haven't scrolled down. Maybe there's some other school committee members on here as well. And if you're here, you know, welcome, and I'm glad to have you. But I just want to thank them because they have had to make difficult decision after difficult decision. And I think this last decision to go back to remote temporarily was the right one. And I really want to thank you, Jill, and any of your colleagues who may be here or who may listen. Not that I think they have time to listen to our meetings these days, but I just want to acknowledge that because I can't imagine how hard this has been. And it hasn't been made easy on you for a variety of reasons. So I just want to acknowledge that, Jill. Thank you.
She did say thank you back to you. I don't know if you saw it or not.
Marlene, I thought we were going to disable the chat because that just, to me, that creates a little issue for open meeting because there's chats going on privately during a public meeting.
Yeah, we can certainly do that. I didn't realize that it was active.
I mean, this meeting, you know, a record of this meeting has to exist. So I'm not sure the chat works well on this.
Right.
And I certainly don't take time to read it. If people are asking questions that way, I focus on what's happening.
That's right. We have a meeting, the board has a meeting to conduct. So yes, we don't have the time to do that.
Right. Okay.
Thanks for the support, Diane. I appreciate it.
Oh, Jill. It's nice to see you smiling and hello.
Yeah, I do.
It's nice to have Jake here. Jake has no front teeth. I love it. That's great.
So cute.
That is great.
Yeah, thank you. But Madam Chair, if I just to get back to that chat for a second, you know, that's the same thing as somebody being at one of our meetings in person and just starting to talk from the audience.
Exactly.
That's how I interpret that. So I don't read them. I don't have them. So I don't even see them.
Yeah.
But people need to realize this is a public meeting. And we have the public forum in the beginning, if people want to have their say. And then after that, it's a regular meeting, all ahead full. So I just want to reiterate what Diana said. And this is a public meeting. So I think everybody, ourselves and everybody else on this call ought to treat it like a public meeting, whether it's remote or not. Thank you.
Sorry about that. It kept popping up on my screen. I didn't realize we weren't supposed to respond to that stuff.
That's all right.
It's okay. I mean, if you were able to provide some answers, I have no problem with that. I don't even know what was on there, but let's like Brian said, let's remember it's an open public meeting and it's very hard for that sort of stuff to be part of a public record. So let's just not go there. So Carrie, are you all set?
Yep, I'm good unless anybody else has any questions amongst the four of you for me. I think I've answered everybody's questions, but
Ed, did you have anything you wanted to add or on your
No,
mind?
I was just trying to find out how to get Carrie help. So I'd like to hear from Liz on if there's some way the Board of Health can help Carrie with some of the responsibilities, because as Carrie's mentioned, this is not us. This is the Board of Health and our COVID director. They have the right to do as the law dictates, correct?
Before you guys go on, I really have to actually go if you guys don't care, since I gave my spiel.
No,
I haven't been home since 5:45 this morning.
Thank you.
No, Carrie, thank you very much.
All right. I'll talk to you
I
guys
think
later.
that, but Marlene did say that Liz wanted to do something, a demonstration about masks, and I would
Yep.
love to have her do that. But no, I don't think you have to be here. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure you know how to wear a
I
mask.
didn't want to be rude and leave, but I didn't. Liz, definitely, I want her to do what she suggested yesterday in our COVID meeting. I think it's a good educational piece for people to see.
I completely agree, because I see people wearing them wrong all the time. So I think it's an excellent idea for Liz. And I know it looks like she's still on here. So hopefully she can join and do that. Liz?
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you, Carrie. Can we, I mean, it does look like she's here. Her mic is off. But I don't know if she's really here and wants to do that, or if she's able to. Maybe she's having a technical problem.
Okay.
So could we maybe move through the agenda, and if Liz is able to join, because maybe, I don't think I have her cell phone or anything to see if she's having a problem.
I don't have it either.
I do not have any way to contact her and see if she's having a technical problem. I don't know if anyone else is able to do that, but we would welcome her coming if she wants to do that.
I like your suggestion that we just continue to move forward till Liz kind of hops in on there.
Okay.
That's okay.
So Liz, you're welcome to hop in when you're able to do that, but we will move forward. Okay, so Town Administrator, financial update.
Waiting to hear that free cash has been certified any moment. It was submitted last week, and we do expect to hear something this week. Tax recap, town's continuing to update. Everybody has a component there with the tax recap. So we are continuing to move forward with the tax recap, and the collector, treasurer, and assessors, I know, are reconciling with Lori. I say reconciling FY21. Sharon, do you have anything to add?
Nope, I'm good, thank you. Unless someone has questions for me.
Nope, all set that for me. Thank you.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you. So next, Marlene, are you all set on that?
I am, thank you.
So we have this memorandum of agreement between the town of Williamsburg and the town of Hatfield for snow plowing and treatment of the roads. This pertains to those roads that are technically Hatfield, but that you access through Williamsburg. And this is just a continuation of an agreement that I'm under the impression we've been part of for many, many years. And it's basically an agreement that we sort of provide some salt and things like that, and they take care of the roads up there.
So we have had this agreement in place for quite some time. It was recently reviewed by Williamsburg. They had asked, made some revisions, some recommended revisions. I've reviewed them with the DPW director, and the highway superintendent and town council has also reviewed this. And both Williamsburg and officials for Hatfield are in agreement with what's been presented to you.
Great. It looks pretty straightforward. It will be an agreement for 10 years, which is really terrific. And I have no questions or concerns, but I don't know if Ed or Brian have anything that they want to raise.
No, I think it's a good agreement.
Yeah.
That's a great agreement, and we're happy to partner with Bergie on this so we can take care of our residents up there.
I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement between the town of Williamsburg and the town of Hatfield for snow plowing and treatment of the road.
I'll second that.
Motion's made in second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Great, thank you. Holiday schedule, Marlene.
Yes, so as the board knows that generally the Board of Selectmen has extended the Thanksgiving holiday to include Friday. And the board has taken this up every year. And I thought, while we're on the subject of Thanksgiving holiday, I would also ask the Board of Selectmen if they wanted to consider granting some, a half day on Christmas Eve. Christmas is on a Friday this year. Therefore, Christmas Eve day would be Thursday. And the board has in the past considered half a day or a full day on Christmas Eve. And it all depends on, the day that it falls during the week. Last year, the Board of Selectmen did grant a half a day New Year's Eve day. And I believe that was for the purpose of the gala, the New Year's Eve gala.
So I would like to suggest that our town employees have had to work under some really tough conditions this year. They've been patient. They've been vigilant in terms of not spreading COVID. And so I think it would be appropriate this year to give a full day off on Christmas Eve and a half day on New Year's Eve. That's my personal opinion. And obviously the day after Thanksgiving, of course.
I'm in agreement with that, Madam Chair.
I'm also in agreement with that.
So I will make a motion, Marlene, if that's what you need to make it official, that the town employees be granted the day after Thanksgiving as a paid holiday, that the town employees be granted Christmas Eve day as a paid holiday, and that New Year's Eve day will be a half day.
I'll second that. I also want to thank the town employees for working through the hardship of COVID-19 and coming to work and being there for us. So I'll second that.
Yeah, and if I could add under discussion and especially, I would say, especially in the beginning. So when there was so much unknown and people had to work from remotely and people were working from home and people were doing their best to get in when they could. Add the reconstruction of a town hall on top of that to our town hall employees. I mean, really, it's actually been incredible to see the job they do day in and day out, especially under the circumstances. So I just thought I would put that out there.
And a presidential election that worked differently than they ever have in the past. So there's been a lot going on in that building, and this is the least we can do to show our appreciation. So so a motion's been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And again, thank you to our town employees who have really and truly have stepped up have not raised the stink, they have just been so wonderful. So we appreciate it.
Thank you to the board, and I will be sure to share that with the employees.
So we're going to take up the special town meeting warrant and the quorum.
So the Board of Selectmen voted and approved the town meeting warrant.
Right.
I had intended on including a draft copy of the motions, and I did not include that. The motions are pretty well set. I'm just waiting to plug a figure into Article 1 for the easements, and I am
Yep.
expecting that number from the appraiser anytime. So Article 1 is to acquire the easements, and we've received also the survey plan. There will be a handout at town meeting, which will include a description of the meets and bounds and a copy of the map for Article 1.
Great.
And
I
at the same
appreciate
time,
that.
we'll be appropriating funds.
So let's just remind people that town meeting is this Saturday.
Yes.
It's at 11.
11 o'clock at the Lions Club Pavilion. The Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee, if they have not been, will be posted for 10:30 a.m. at the pavilion.
And there are just the two articles regarding, one regarding easements for the sewer project out on 5 and 10, and one regarding the lease of some vehicles. That is not a money article. It is just an approval of the lease. The money already exists. The money was already approved.
Right.
And we do need to take action on our ability to reduce the quorum in light of COVID-19. So we had talked some different things about, we can go as low as 10%, which would put us at a quorum of 8.
Well, we did that. The board did that at the previous meeting.
Oh, we did that already? Yeah, that's right. So then what do we have to do
I
now?
think we discussed it, and then I think we settled on the number 10, if I'm not.
Yes, that's right. You're right. I'm
That is
sorry, I'm
correct.
forgetting.
Yeah, there's something in the packet, and I don't, that shouldn't be in there.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Well, I
board,
wondered about that because I did think that we took that up, but okay.
the board did, and the town clerk and moderator was notified. They were notified of the board's last vote at the last meeting to reduce it to 10.
Okay. So then we're technically set for Saturday.
You are. I just want to
Okay.
touch base on the motions and make sure that, yes, we let people know that it is Saturday morning at 11 o'clock.
And so Michael has asked for a minute to, and it's going to be a brief minute, to ask some questions about this. Michael, you have already asked these questions and been answered. So I'm not sure why you want to ask them again, but I will give you a brief minute to go ahead and do that.
Okay, great, thanks. First of all, I guess in the grand scheme of things that we're all dealing with at this point, I would encourage the Board of Selectmen, either by hook or by crook or by video or audio or by chat, would urge you to try to get Carrie somehow the help that she needs to deal with what she has to do in regards to the COVID crisis in the community. I think that more than anything is the major agenda before us all. And the special town meeting on Saturday pales in comparison to what we're faced with as a community right now. So I do hope that you guys help her and take some action on that.
Michael, I can assure you, we have been helping her through the whole thing. So I'm giving you a minute, Michael, to go over these questions quickly, and then we're going to move along.
Yeah, well, the overarching issue that I have is with Article 2 on the fact that it seems to involve the acquisition of somewhere in the neighborhood of $600,000 worth of vehicles for the community, and the financing of those vehicles via lease program. And so the fact that this article actually involves the acquisition of that amount of capital expenditure.
Michael, that's already been done. The financial piece of this has been done and approved by town meeting.
I've never seen an article that has the voters or has asked the voters to approve $600,000 worth of vehicle acquisition at a town meeting over the course of the last few years. So I guess that's the issue. You know, there are other options for doing this, but I guess the concern I have is that this kind of program is somewhat under the radar. Our voters in town really never have the opportunity to respond and react to proposals to replace vehicles in this case, but other major items of capital equipment similar to that are being leased. And I do feel that at least as we go into this article on Saturday, that someone gives a briefing as to the dollar value of the equipment that's going to be being leased, what the items are, and the justification for replacing those items. And so, you know, that's my issue, Diana and board. You know, it's you know, we're basically authorizing us to finance the acquisition of equipment that has yet to be, the acquisition of which has yet to be approved by the community. Yes, the operating budget this year contains 1 year's worth of leasing payments, but it does not include the approval of $600,000 worth of operating funds going forward. And that's what this article deals with.
I think the way you're saying it, Mike, is a little disingenuous. 600,000, you know, it's a lease. It's actually a rent to own, right? Ed and I always have this conversation at our meetings. And so, yes, you're right. But the way you're saying it makes it sound like it's $600,000 this year, and that's just not true.
Right, or that we're trying to hide that it's $600,000.
We've been doing this.
Nothing could be further from the truth.
We've been doing this for 10 years.
Right.
And it's about rotating the vehicles, school vans, dump trucks, any motorized vehicles, all through. And rather than have to come to town meeting and say, we need 60,000 for this or 100,000 for that, it's been an ongoing leasing program to actually save the town money in the long run, yet keep everything relatively, I don't want to say new, but in a newer, rather than have 10, 12, 15-year-old trucks or whatever that may have been past their life and need thousands of dollars of repairs. It's basically a way of keeping the fleet for all departments up to speed, up to date. But it's not new. It goes to capital planning. This gets signed off on capital planning. It's not under the radar. It's in the budget every town meeting. So I just want to, I don't mind that you're asking a question, of course. I just want to make sure that it's being interpreted properly by the public who sees it.
I'm not implying that you're, you know, somehow we're trying to under the radar sneak in the approval of $600,000 worth of items within the context of fiscal 21. All I'm saying is that I think the community deserves to know when you guys receive approval to enter into 5-year leases, what the vehicles are that are going to be leased and what the value of those vehicles is before we actually do this. And Brian, you say that it was approved or submitted to the capital planning committee. So you're saying that each one of these vehicles was submitted to capital planning, there was a justification for their replacement, and they approved that the financing for this should be leasing?
That is my understanding, Mike.
Yes.
That these go through capital planning because they're over $10,000 or whatever the threshold is these days.
And capital planning did meet. They met just
but have they approved the acquisition of those vehicles across the period of time?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And yes, and your daughter's on the committee.
I know Heather is, and Heather and I, you know, there's a Chinese wall between Heather and I. You guys need to know that. Okay. So your questions are well taken. I am certain that Mr. Genovese will be at town meeting so that he is able to address any questions that anyone present may have specifically. Bill had indicated that he was going to develop a schedule that showed these items I haven't seen it yet, but I'm assuming he's going to have that on Saturday.
Phil
Yes,
is
there'll
on
be a
here.
hand- There'll be a handout at town meeting.
Okay. Okay, enough said.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, town hall renovations.
Just quickly, as you know, last week, the fire pump install was completed, the control panel for the fire pump. But there is still some wiring to be done, so it is not completely functional at this time. And we expect that to be taken care of, I believe this week.
Great. Just in time for us to shut down for another reason.
Yeah.
But
The elevator works.
no, I appreciate that. And I again, as usual, appreciate Ed's diligence on this and really being the point person on the town hall renovations and this fire pump, as well as Chief Flaherty. Any other things on town hall renovations? Ed, anything?
No, all they had was they had one little leak on a ceiling tile after they did some testing, and they came in, they repaired that. But I gotta say, downstairs in a COA, it's really looking fantastic.
It is.
Floor in, the painting, Jerry and Phil together have gotten some really good people in there to really fix that place up, and anybody that's hasn't been in there for a while, they're going to be amazed at what that place looks like. So it's
really coming together.
Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe when I come in to sign things this week, I'll take a little trip down there because I've been wanting to see it.
Yeah, and I'd like to echo what Ed just said, well, and what Diana said. So, Ed, thank you for being part of that whole process these last few years. And I'd like to thank Jerry and Phil, Jerry, and Cookie for having the vision to, make those have those improvements done down there. And I haven't been down there myself, but I've talked to Jerry a few times, and she seems ecstatic. Regarding the water pump, my concern was when they were testing it last week, I was walking back there and all 4 valves were open and the water was coming out. And all I could say to myself was, man, I hope that's running away from the building and not downstairs back into the COA. So rather than say anything, I just kept walking, figuring I didn't want to jinx the process. But everything's come together finally. So thank you, Ed, for your help with that.
So it looks like that's the end of our actual agenda items, correct, Marlene?
That is it.
Okay, great. Does Brian, Ed, Marlene, anything else?
No.
Just a reminder, see everybody on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock.
Yes.
Wear a mask.
Wear a mask, bundle up.
Another reminder that what this is about is we're not sneaking anything on the special town meeting. We were entrusted to make sure this project on 5 and 10 got done. It's been funded. We got a $2 million grant. This is part of the process. So we stay on track with that $2 million grant schedule. And the easements are only part of this project. And the law says we have to go to the town to get the approval. So I just want people to be aware of this. There's nothing crazy about this special town meeting. It's just doing what the people in town have entrusted us with and doing.
Very well put, Ed, and you're absolutely right. And if we could have, there was a lot of sort of paperwork and things that had to be done, and we were waiting on other information and things from other folks. So that's why this couldn't have been done sooner. It wasn't anyone's preference to have a cold Saturday morning town meeting, but that's what we're going to do. We'll get through it, and we certainly hope people do come.
At least there isn't any precipitation in the weather.
I know.
Hey, hello.
Oh,
Oh, yay. Okay, good, Liz.
I had to reboot and get on here 3 different times, so whenever you want me to talk, I will, and if you're finished or not.
Sure. We actually, you came on at the perfect time, but we can't really see your face. I don't know if you're able to move your camera a little bit. especially if you're going to be talking about your mask.
I was gonna, all we're gonna see is your forehead and we're not gonna be able to see the mask.
Gotcha. Well, I can just start by saying the most important thing, like people know how to put the mask on and off, basically. Is that any better?
No, it's worse, actually. There you go. There you go.
Sorry about that.
All right.
So mostly what I wanted to say is, just because of vaccines coming out, I mean, it's no reason to leave our guard down. We're going to be wearing these masks for quite a while. So just as a review, you always want to handle your mask by the ear loops.
Okay.
And then, put it on. And then, of course, you're going to have to touch the bottom a little bit, whether you have this kind or a cloth kind, and pinch the nose. What you don't want to do is touch this, because this is where anything that, is coming into you or out of you is going to be, because then if you touch this, then this is all dirty, your hand. So when you take it off, it's the same thing. And this is probably the most important part that I really want to talk to people about is, now what are you going to do with this? Okay, so what you want to do is fold your masks so that the inside where you're breathing is on the outside, and then put it in a plastic bag. Not in your pocketbook or on a table or in your coat pocket, okay? Because you want to keep it clean, because if you place it down on a table, you're going to contaminate even more. If you put it in your pocket or pocketbook, the same thing.
Liz, say it. Say it again, please. We couldn't see. So you fold it inside out, basically?
Yeah, you want the part that has directly on your face, touching your nose.
Right.
Put that on the outside and then put it in the bag, so that when you take it in and out of the bag, it's clean.
Got it. Thank you.
So Liz, that's actually, that's the first I've heard of this. So that's really interesting. I'm glad you came on and said that. And I make a couple of those mistakes that you were referring to.
And
so I'm going to have to change my ways.
You don't want to wear it on your chin either, because you're going to have to pull it up, which you're going to contaminate your face again and your mask in your hands. So that's basically what I want to say about the mask. The other thing is try to cluster your errands and stuff like that for one outing. I know I'm awful at doing this. I go to the Big Y probably 3 times a week, because I make a list and I forget it at home. So try to be, cluster your errands. And the last thing, after working in NICU for 32 years and using hand sanitizer with alcohol-based solution, your hands are going to dry out in winter, probably worse than ever. So start with the hand cream now, because once you get, dry skin hands and you're going to get cracks and stuff, it's going to be painful to wash your hands. So the rest of it, to answer from earlier discussion, I apologize. I could hear and see everybody, but I could not talk. Anyways, as far as the Board of Health, I agree we should, be more involved in it. I think we didn't really know what the role was between us initially and Carrie's job, kind of. And I was involved in the school metrics meetings. There was probably 8 or 10 of them that I did attend, and Bob and I did do inspections of the school. And Carrie does update us and stuff. And, we met for the COVID meeting the other day. I think it was Friday. Forget what day that was. But, we offered help, and I said, I'm more than willing to go around businesses and check and make sure that, they're following procedures correctly and stuff like that. We talked about, whether we should get out a letter to businesses, because, they change the governor changes the rules all the time. And then, Brian had said that, well, really, that's not our job to do that. They should be keeping up with that as well. So, any way that we can help Carrie out, that's fine. And when she did come to our Board of Health meeting that day, it was totally kind of a different topic. Like, we didn't understand kind of that she was asking for help. So I think that was a little misunderstanding.
Yeah, I think I think, not to speak for Carrie, but I think part of it is, for the last few months, it sort of had been kind of like a few ups and downs. But then, of course, last week it was like, boom, with the spikes. And it was like, just don't have not enough hours in the day to do all the contact tracing that was necessary for all of that. So
I agree. I think it happened suddenly, and I can't speak for the other board members, but I'm more than willing to help carry out in any way I can. I mean, we're all in this together,
Yeah, I mean, Liz, that would be great because, obviously with your background too, I mean, I think that, you'd be great to lend a hand and at least have us, proactively ready on the off chance that we see numbers like this again, and I certainly hope we do not, but at least be ready so that because the key is the contact tracing. So to make sure that can happen in as timely a manner as possible is just so incredibly important, because then the school's able to get information out that it needs. Like I was saying, they got to me this week. And so maybe just have everything in place so that if that ever needs to kick in, and with any luck, it won't. We won't need to mobilize like that.
Yeah, I was going to say on our meeting on Monday, our COVID meeting I know you guys understand it, but maybe the townspeople forget. So every Monday for the last 7 or 8 months, the fire chief, the police chief, Carrie, the DPW, Marlene, myself. Actually, the last few months have been the superintendent and, of course, Carrie. And we meet every Monday. And we had that conversation a little bit this week, which was, Diana, to your point, even hopefully the cases come down, this contact tracing is done. Now's the time to maybe get another person or two on board, however, to understand how to do that should we have to go through this again, so that Carrie doesn't have to try to do it solo, trying to find contact tracing for 15 or 16 people. So we've started that conversation given how last week ended and this week started. So I think we're on that path. And so I would thank Liz for her comments talking about, doing what she can. And I know there's been others in the chat window during this meeting that have said the same thing. So we'd still like Carrie, I think, given the circumstances and the 8 months of expertise on COVID, to sort of be the point person, but just to have maybe another person or two, just for her to be able to reach out to and get on board and everybody sort of help each other out. So.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And you know what, we should acknowledge and thank Brian, because you have been really the board's representative to this sort of COVID response team, and a big thank you to all of those folks that you just listed who do deal with this every single week and have us, prepared and as ready as possible for what we saw like last week. And so I appreciate that. And I think, all of those folks who are participating in that. So Liz, were you done with your demonstration?
Yeah. The important thing is just how to put that mask in the bag and keep it clean.
That's right.
To throw it on the car seat and, on the dashboard or whatever. And Lord knows where else people are putting it,
Listen, I have a purse full of those things, so I am breaking all the rules. You're turning my life around, Liz. I'm gonna change things. I'm gonna go grab a bunch of Ziploc bags and put them in my purse and do it that way. But I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm making light of it, but those are really important points. And I think about this as I walk through, Big Y, and I think this is great. Everybody's wearing masks, but most people just aren't wearing them correctly. You see a lot of that. I saw one today up above the mouth. Typically, it's under the nose. And I see a lot of touching. And I think that's hard. I think we're probably all a little bit guilty of, touching the mask a little bit. But those were all really good points and things for people, to bear in mind. So I do appreciate that, Liz. If no one has anything else, I guess I would just sum up by wishing everybody a really happy Thanksgiving. I know that at most people's houses, it might look a little different this year, than it normally does. I know it will at our house, and we're all pretty sad about that. But we're going to make the best of it, and we're going to do some meal delivery and things like that to, make sure that we're sharing the feast with our family members and friends. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And if Brian or Ed want to pipe in at all, feel free to do that. But just a big thank you to everybody who participates in all this town business throughout the year. It's a big job, and this year it's been an extra big job. And so I'm grateful and thankful to all of you.
I would just echo Diane's sentiments. Thank everybody for everything you've done, and hope everybody has a safe Thanksgiving. But of course, we hope to see many of you on Saturday at 11 a.m. So,
of course.
But that's all I had to say. Thank you.
So do we have any other business, or do you entertain a motion to adjourn?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, motion made and second. Any further discussion?
Thank you, everybody.
All those in favor, aye. Thank you, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.